Hello, welcome back. I'm so glad that you're able to join me again today. Thank you for being here. If you're new to this channel, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. Now today I am making oxtails. I hope you've had oxtails before. If you've never had oxtails, you must try it. It's very good. So I'm gonna make oxtails. I'm gonna make dried peas and rice, but I'm only going to videotape the oxtails so you can see how the oxtails are made. Now before we get started here, the first thing we have to do is season our meat. I've already washed it and cleaned it, so now I'm gonna season it first so you can see. I'm going to start by adding some of my seasonings that I have here. This is paprika, and I am just going to sprinkle some paprika on here, and I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit. You can't really sprinkle too much or too little, just sprinkle a little bit on there. I have some black pepper, because before you start to cook your meat you should season it. If you're able, this is black pepper. If you're able to season your meat like a day in advance, that's good. Put it in the refrigerator. By the time you're ready to cook, you just take it out and you cook. This here is Old Bay. I'm gonna put a little Old Bay in here. And just remember, these are the seasonings, the spices that I'm using, but you can use your own spice that you have in the pantry. Whatever you like, you can use. That's fine. This is turmeric, which I have in this bottle right here, or turmeric, whichever, however you prefer to call it. That's some turmeric in there. I have in here some all-purpose seasoning. I'm going to sprinkle some of that in there. Sprinkle it right at the side. Yeah, this hold a little bigger, come a little bit faster. You alright? All-purpose seasoning. Now in here I have here, this is jerk seasoning. You don't have to use this, but I like to use it sometimes. This is a mild jerk seasoning. You can use this, and it gives the food a nice flavor, so you can use that. And this is what I'm putting in here. You can put as much as you want, as little as you want. That's okay. That seasons the food really good. It's a little spicy, but this one is mild. It's not that spicy. And I have here some molasses. I'm also gonna pour some molasses in here. And molasses is a little sweet, so it gives it a little sweet taste. And then you mix it up. You give it a stir. Make sure everything is mixed up nicely. And then what you would do if you was making this, say that you buy this, today's Sunday, I'm making it on a Sunday. But say you bought this meat on a Saturday, you do what I just did, season it up like this, then you cover it, you put it in the refrigerator, and you let it stay there. You know, how many hours? 12 hours or so. And then Sunday you would make this for dinner, so it would be nice and seasoned. All the flavors would be inside of it, and then you start to cook. Okay, so you season in advance. I'm not seasoning in advance because I want to show you exactly how to do it, you know. But I mean, it's gonna be good when I'm done, but I'm saying if you want those extra flavors, that's what you would do. So come on over now to the saucepan, and I'm going to show you exactly how I'm going to get this started. I'm going to start by putting a little extra virgin olive oil in my saucepan. And you got to be careful with the oil that you put in, because oxtails is very fatty, so it produces a lot of oil. And now I'm going to empty some garlic. That's a whole pot of garlic that I put in there. Pan is a little bit hot because I had it on. I turned it on, so that's your garlic in there. I'm gonna throw this onion in there. Don't worry about this onion being so big. I just cut this onion in maybe like 4 or 6 or so, because this onion is all gonna cook away. Because this oxtails cook, guys, oxtails cook for 2 hours to be exact. So you have to leave it on for 2 hours. So I would add more onion when it's almost finished. So I put it in the beginning. I put it in big like that. You're gonna turn your stove up a little bit. And now I'm going to add my meat. I'm going to add my meat. And just give it a little stir. I just leave it like that for a few minutes. And I add some fresh thyme. And just give that like a 2 minutes or so to just everything come together. Okay. But just continue to stir it for a little bit. Don't add your water or anything in yet. We can add our water in a few minutes, but I'm just combining everything together. And then in a few minutes we're gonna add our water to that. But right now I'm not adding the waters yet. Now I'm gonna go ahead. This is the water that the meat was in, that all those seasonings was in. I just added some water to that. So now I'm gonna pour that in here. And now it has some water in there. I'm gonna add a little bit of browning just to give it a little color. You don't want to add too much because then it'll make it too dark. Yeah, we'll give it a little bit of color. You see, I don't have a lot of water in here, just enough that come up to the top here. I think I'm gonna add just a little more in. Just enough water that come to like the top of the meat. That's all the water that I need in there. Now I'm going to turn my stove to low, and I'm going to let this take its time right here and cook. This is going to take at least 2 hours to cook, exactly 2 hours. So you can time yourself for 2 hours and know that in 2 hours this is going to be finished. So no sense in rushing it. So I'm going to put my cover on and leave it here. Now remember, when you're cooking oxtails, you must not put your stove high. If you put your stove high, what's going to happen is the meat, the water is going to dry out, and then you're going to have to add more water to it, which is going to take away some of your flavor. Okay, so leave the stove low so it can take its time and this water remains in here. If you put the stove too high, it dries out, and if you walk away from it, it'll burn. Once the water dries out, then it'll start to burn. You don't want that to happen. So keep your stove low and leave it there for 2 hours, and that should be cooked. Okay guys, now this we're coming up to the finish line here. I have been boiling this oxtails, as I told you, for 2 hours. Now 2 hours is up, so let's see what's going on here. In here you can see oxtails have a lot of oil, and you can see all that oil on the top. I don't like all that oil, so what I do is I dip some of that oil off, as much of it off as I can, and put in a bowl to get rid of it. Before I put my other seasonings in there, I kind of like to just dip off all that oil. See, oh, that's a lot of oil. I don't like that in there. And oxtails, because oxtails are fatty and it sends off a lot of oil. So I'm gonna dip this oil off, And once I dip this oil off, then I'll add my other stuff in there and show you exactly how I'm going to finish this up, exactly what else I'm going to put in it. I'm not stirring it yet because I just want to take off the top of it. And as you could see, guys, it's the same amount of water that I had put in here previously is the same amount that's in here. I didn't add any more water to it. I didn't add anything to it. You saw what I added in the beginning. I covered it. I have it on a slow heat. I just left it. I went and did laundry. I did all kind of stuff. And now 2 hours is up and I'm back to it. But all of this oil, if you could take as much of this oil as, look, you see that in there? Yeah, you don't need to be eating all of that stuff. And that's what oxtails does, guys. It's oily. Another thing is, if you don't want to eat this right away and you put it down, put it in the refrigerator, all of this is going to harden on the top. And then when it hardens on the top, you just scrape it right off. Makes it so much easier. And then you can put it back on the stove and add your stuff to it. And then you have that. I don't think I'm going to get much more out of it, but at least I got some of it. That's a lot of oil, guys. Alright. So, as you can see, it's been cooking for a while. And let me get a fork right here to show you the meat is nice and tender. See that? That's how I like my meat, like falling off the bone. Nice and tender. So now that that is done, remember I really just added a few things earlier. So now I'm going to add some onions to that, because this is the finishing up now. So you wait till the end and add that stuff. I'm going to add, this is what is this again? Lima beans. This is lima beans. I'm going to add some lima beans to it. Got some carrots. I'd add some tomatoes. I'm going to add some ketchup. I'm going to add a little bit of pepper, not too much, because I put jerk seasoning there, which has a little bit of pepper. I'm going to add some celery. Also going to add, this is like 2 celeries in here. I'm going to add 2 chopped up celery. I'm going to add a little bit of butter. I'm adding in my peppers. This is half an orange pepper, and half a green pepper. Lots of peppers. And that's it. And now you're going to give it a good stir again. Now you can put the stove up a little bit, because now it's already, meat is already cooked. So you need now to just cook the vegetables that you put in there. So I'm going to put my stove up a little bit higher now, so that can cook a little bit faster. And I'll come back as soon as this is all done. Okay guys, I'm just about done. Everything is cooked, it's finished. So what I'm going to do, and you see it have the same amount of liquid as I put in earlier, because I let it slow cook, the liquid stay. If you had put the stove too high, you would have had to add more water to it because it would have dried out. But I have the same amount of liquid. Looks good, guys. Now, as I always say to you, taste your food before you finish, just to make sure that everything is just right. So I'm gonna taste it. We get a spoon, and I'm gonna taste. It needs a little more salt. I'm gonna add a little more salt. Sprinkle in this little fine hole, so I could sprinkle a little bit of salt to it. I don't want to put too much, but I want to sprinkle a little bit of salt. And then you have to taste it again to make sure. I think it needs a little more. I'm going to put a little bit in my hand. And sprinkle. I don't remember if I put salt in earlier or not. I may have put just a little bit of salt in here. So let me taste it again. You can taste the spice. It's a little bit hot. Now it's perfect. Now it's good. Yippee, yippee, yippee. Okay. So, guys, this is how you make oxtails. You see? It's nice. You see the meat is falling off the bone. That's how I like my meat. Nice and tender. So you let it cook for a couple hours. Then when it's cooked, after a couple hours, add in your carrots and peppers and onions and so on. And then just let that cook. As soon as all that stuff cook, then your oxtails is done. And this is ready to be served. It is good. So that's my oxtails over here. I didn't show you this earlier, but this is some zucchini here that I'm sauteing. This is just some zucchini I sliced up. I put it in some olive oil, a little butter, some onions, some tomato, and I sprinkle a little all-purpose seasoning and so on it. Not too much seasoning, a little pepper and salt is good. And I'm sauteing this right here. This is just zucchini in here. Over here, I have, which I should turn off the stove right now. This is my dried peas and rice. That's some thyme that I put in there. That's dried peas and rice right there, guys. And guys, the oxtails are ready, so I'm going to serve it in a minute. But I just want to explain to you and go over again exactly what I did. You see, I seasoned the meat before. If you can season your meat and put it in the refrigerator and let it sit there for a few minutes, is always good. If you can't, it's understandable. But season your meat first. Then you put a little oil and put a little garlic and a little onion in there. And throw your meat in there and just stir it up for a little bit. Put your browning in there. And then once you stir it up for a few minutes, then you're going to add your water to that. The water just comes just above the top of the meat. And put your lid on, put your stove to lower, and just let it stay there for 2 hours. That 2 hours, you could do a lot of things in that 2 hours. You can do laundry, you can take care of your kids, you can do whatever within that 2 hours while your oxtails just slowly cook. Once your oxtails is cooked, because I like my oxtail where the meat is falling off the bone. When your oxtails are finished, then you add in your chopped up onions and scallions and celery and peppers and tomatoes, and you can add a little more seasoning, whatever you want to add. You can add it to it once your meat is cooked. Just let that cook for a little bit, and voila, you're finished. So I finished my oxtail. Remember, taste your food once it's finished to make sure you have enough salt, or in there if you need to add something else, you can add it. I also made some dried peas and rice, which I didn't make on camera because you've seen me make rice before. I made some dried peas and rice. I made some zucchini. I sauteed a little zucchini, and what I did with the zucchini, that was just onions and tomatoes and a little black pepper and a little seasoned salt, and that was it. I sauteed that in the pan, and then I steamed a little butternut squash and a little sweet potato together. So let me go ahead and assemble this plate and show you exactly what I did. Okay guys, so I'm gonna put you some dried peas and rice. This is my dried peas and rice. Remember we used to sing a song where this little girl said, dried peas and rice is very nice upon a rainy day. Remember that song, guys? If you're a Bajan, you'll know that song. If you're not a Bajan, you're not gonna know that song. So I put a little bit of rice on here. And now I have my zucchini and my onions. I'll put a little bit on my plate. I try to put more vegetable on my plate than I put rice on there. Then I have here, which I just put a half of butternut squash. A piece of sweet potato. And here is my oxtails. And guys, here is your oxtail stew with dried peas and rice and some vegetables, some butternut squash, some sweet potato, and some zucchini. And of course we have some carrots in here that was in the oxtails, some lima beans. So guys, I hope that you can make this for your family. As you see, it was not really that hard. It's just a matter of assembling and getting everything together. And as long as you have everything ahead of time, you can make this. Pretty easy to make. So I hope you make this for your family. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I had so much fun making this. I hope that you enjoyed watching me make this. And I hope that you can make it someday for your family. It's really not that hard to make, and as you see, it's just a matter of getting all your ingredients together. And once you get all your ingredients together, you can start putting everything, making oxtail. It was not that hard to make. Thank you again for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit that little red button below that says subscribe, so that way every time I put a video out, you will be the first to see. And that little notification bell in the top, every time you click that bell, whenever you write a message to me, I will be able to see it. So until next